Evan Carter was a quiet man who rarely caused trouble for anyone. He worked as a mechanic at Outpost 9, small human settlement on the desert planet Ares 3. Most people came to Ares 3 for money, adventure, or danger. Evan came because it was peaceful. There were no crowded cities, no constant noise, and no one bothered him much. He liked it that way. His days were simple: repair machines, check fuel lines, write reports, drink his evening tea, and sleep. Outpost 9 was not very exciting. It had a few metal buildings, a small canteen, a supply depot, and a tall watchtower that blinked red lights at night like a tired lighthouse. The wind blew sand across the roads, making a soft whispering sound. Sometimes cargo ships came from orbit, delivered supplies, and left without staying long. Life moved slowly. It's just the way Evan preferred. But everything changed one evening. Evan was finishing his shift when Supervisor Harris called out to him. Harris was a large man with a thick mustache and a habit of shouting even when speaking normally. "Carter, we've got a shipment stuck near the East Ridge. Scanners say one of the crates fell off the transport. Go get it before someone steals it." Evan nodded. On it, he grabbed his toolkit, hopped into a small rover, and set off across the sandy terrain. The sky was orange, slowly turning purple as the sun dipped behind the dunes. Ares 3 had 2 moons, and one of them was already rising, glowing like a silver coin in the sky. The scanner beeped, showing the lost crate not far ahead. Evan parked his rover and walked toward it. The crate was half buried in sand, dented from the fall. He crouched beside it, checking the serial tag. "Medical supplies," he muttered. Lucky it didn't break open. Just as he reached to scan it, he heard something strange. A soft sound, like a faint breath or a whisper. Evan froze. He slowly turned his head and listened carefully. There it was again. A weak, shaky inhale coming from behind the crate. Someone was there. His first thought was bandits. Sometimes smugglers roamed the empty lands, looking for things to steal. He stood up carefully, gripping his wrench tightly, ready to defend himself if needed. "Who's there?" He called out, "I'm just here for the crate." "I don't want trouble." No answer, but then movement. A shadow shifted behind the container. Slowly, very slowly, someone came into view. It was a woman, but not human. She was tall, maybe a little taller than Evan, with pale silver skin that shimmered in the moonlight. Her hair was dark blue and long, tied loosely behind her back. Her clothes were torn and dusty, not like any uniform or outfit he recognized. Her arms were scratched, and one side of her face had a bruised mark as if she had been struck by something. Her eyes were bright violet. They stared at him with fear. Evan's breath caught in his throat. An alien, a real alien. Humans had made contact with a few species over the years, but rarely this close. Most aliens lived in other sectors, far from human territory. Seeing one up close was not common, especially. One in this condition, she looked weak, exhausted, hurt. She tried to speak, but her voice came out rough, like she had not drunk water in days. Double quotes. Quran. ZHE ... Evan could not understand her language. He slowly raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." She flinched when he took a step closer, so he stopped. He gently placed his wrench on the ground to show he was unarmed. The alien woman breathed heavily. She looked like she might collapse any moment. Evan noticed her right leg was trembling. She was leaning against the crate just to stay upright. "You're injured," he said, speaking slowly even though he knew she might not understand. "You need help." She didn't reply. Her eyes remained fixed on him, guarded but desperate. Evan made a decision. He pointed at the crate and then at his rover. "I'm going to lift this crate onto my vehicle," he said calmly. "Then if you want, I can take you somewhere safe. Or I can give you water, food. Do you understand?" Her eyes studied his face, as if searching for deception. After a long pause, she gave the smallest nod. Evan moved carefully, lifting the crate with the help of a hover pad built into the rover. The alien woman tried to help but winced in pain and stopped. When the crate was secured, Evan walked back to her. He slowly reached into his pouch and pulled out his water canister. He held it out to her. She stared at it cautiously. Then, with trembling hands, she accepted it and drank. Not too fast controlled, like a warrior trained to never waste. Evan smiled a little. There you go. She finished drinking and handed the canister back, giving a small nod again. Can you walk? He asked. She tried to stand straight, but her leg gave way. She gritted her teeth. All right, Evan said. I'll help. He reached out gently. She hesitated, watching his hand like it was a wild animal. After a moment, she placed her arm around his shoulder, allowing him to support her. They walked slowly to the rover. Evan helped her climb into the passenger seat. She sat upright, watching every movement with alert eyes. Evan could tell she was trained maybe, soldier or scout. He started the engine and drove back toward Outpost 9. The ride was quiet, except for the soft hum of the rover. Evan glanced at her occasionally. Her head rested against the window, but she stayed awake, still cautious. The outpost lights appeared in the distance. Towers with blinking beacons, metal walls surrounding the buildings. Armed guards at the gates. Evan slowed down. He looked at her seriously. If I take you inside, he said softly, the guards will arrest you. They might think you're dangerous. And I don't know what will happen after that. The woman stared at the outpost, then at him. She didn't need translation too. Understand his warning. He turned the rover away from the main gate and instead drove toward the old storage hangar behind the supply depot. It was rarely used. He parked behind a stack of scrap metal and helped her out. Wait here, whispered. She stayed hidden while he unlocked the door to the hangar. Inside, there were broken machines, dusty crates, and old blankets. It wasn't comfortable, but it was safe. He signaled for her to come in. She stepped inside. Slowly, Evan grabbed an old blanket, laid it on the floor like a bed, and handed her some ration bars. They don't taste good, he said, scratching his neck awkwardly, but they'll keep you alive. She examined the ration bar, sniffed it lightly, then bit into it. Her expression remained calm, neither liking nor hating it. Evan knelt beside her. I'll bring medicine tomorrow, but you need rest. She tilted her head, curious. She placed a hand on his chest gently, right over his heart. Evan froze. She looked into his eyes and spoke softly, her voice calmer now. Renal. Sora. He didn't know what it meant, but he felt it wasn't something bad. She then slowly pulled her hand, back and nod, almost like a warrior making a promise. Evan stood up. Rubbing the back of his neck, I'll come back in the morning, he said. Don't leave. It's dangerous outside. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again, giving him a slow blink. Maybe that meant she understood. He walked toward the exit, but before leaving, he looked back one last time. She was already lying on the blanket. Watching him silently, for some reason, Evan smiled. Good night, he said softly. She didn't reply, but her eyes softened. He stepped outside, locked the door quietly. The night wind was colder now. As he walked back to his quarters, his mind buzzed with questions. Who was she? Why was she running? And why? Did he feel like this was only the beginning? He didn't know the answers yet, but deep inside he sensed one thing. His quiet, peaceful life was no longer quiet, and he didn't mind at all. The following morning, Evan woke early, as usual. Sunlight poured through the small window of his quarters, catching dust particles that danced like tiny stars in the air. But this morning he could not focus on the sun or the quiet hum of the outpost. His mind was filled with the alien woman. He wondered if she had moved while he slept. He made his way to the storage hangar, careful not to draw attention from the few guards patrolling the outer perimeter. The hangar looked normal from outside, nothing to betray that a stranger from another world had taken refuge within its walls. He pushed open the heavy metal door and entered. The alien woman was awake. She sat on the blanket he had laid for her legs stretched in front, still showing faint bruises and scratches. She had a strange, calm beauty about her, unlike anything Evan had ever seen. Her violet eyes met his the moment he entered. She did not speak, but he could feel her silent question. What happens now? Evan smiled nervously. Good morning. Did you sleep well? She tilted her head slightly, as if considering the meaning of his words. Then she nodded once. He guessed she understood some part of what he said. Door maybe. She simply trusted him enough to respond with a gesture. He knelt beside her and unpacked a small bag of supplies. I brought some medicine for your injuries. And more water, he said, handing her a canister. Eat something, too. You need strength. She accepted the water again and drank slowly. Then she inspected the small container of medicine. She did not touch it at first, simply turning it over in her hands, examining the strange human labels. Evan had no idea if the medicine would even work on her, but he had to try. Here, he said gently. This will help with the bruises and scratches. It won't hurt you. After a moment, she extended her hand, and he carefully applied the salve to her wounds. She winced slightly at the sting, but did not protest. He worked carefully, noticing how her skin shimmered faintly under the thin layer of ointment. When he finished, she touched his hand again, softly, as if to say thank you. Evan's heart skipped a beat. He realized something very important. No human or alien had ever made him feel this alive. They spent the morning in silence. Evan kept glancing at her, watching her delicate movements, the way her head tilted as she examined objects around the hangar. Every now and then, she would pick up a scrap of metal or a broken tool, turning it over in her hands, seemingly curious about how humans worked. Then, the piece shattered. A sharp alarm sounded across Outpost 9. Red lights flashed on the watchtowers. Bathing the hangar in an eerie crimson glow, Evan froze. He had heard the alarms before, usually signaling a security breach or incoming cargo. But this time, the sound was different, more urgent, more dangerous. He glanced at the hangar door and saw the alien woman standing as well, alert, eyes wide. She sensed it before he did. Something about her stance, her posture, told him she was ready for danger. Evan ran to the door and peered outside. Far across the ridge, something massive descended from orbit. At first, he thought it was a cargo ship, but as it drew closer, he realized it was no ordinary human craft. The shape was sleek and unfamiliar, with smooth curves and glowing blue engines. It landed softly, but the sand around it shifted violently, raising clouds of dust that obscured the horizon. Evan's breath caught. What? What is that? He muttered. The alien woman stepped beside him. She did not speak, but she pointed toward the ship. Her eyes were wide. Evan could sense her tension, but there was also calm. She knew what it was. The outpost's few guards ran toward the main gate, raising their weapons. Shouts echoed as people scrambled to understand the situation. Panic spread quickly. Most humans had never seen such a ship up close. Evan grabbed a nearby crate for cover, shielding the alien woman beside him. "Stay down," he whispered. Then the hatch of the ship opened. A ramp extended, glowing softly in the dim light. One figure stepped down, tall, poised, regal. The alien woman beside Evan stiffened. Her eyes widened. Recognition. Something human words could not explain. Evan squinted through the dust. The figure walked forward slowly, confidently. There were no weapons drawn, but guards kept their rifles ready. The alien woman stepped closer to Evan instinctively, as if seeking protection, and then she stopped, eyes fixed on the figure. She seemed relieved. Evan's mind raced. She knows them? He whispered. The figure approached until they were close enough for Evan to see details. It was the same alien woman he had saved days ago. But now, she was different. Her posture was straight, proud, and commanding. She wore ceremonial armor, something that signified authority. Her once tattered clothes were gone, replaced with elegant designs that shimmered with a faint light. Evan's heart pounded. That's the same woman, he muttered. She looked directly at him, violet eyes meeting his. There was a softness, a hint of recognition, but also a formality, a respect he didn't understand. Around her, several other figures remained back, their heads bowed slightly, as if she was royalty. Evan's mind struggled to process it. She She's important, he whispered. Really important. The alien woman he had helped, she had not been a fugitive. Not really. She was someone powerful. Someone who could change everything for humans on this outpost then. She stepped closer to him, ignoring the cautious distance. She placed a hand gently on his shoulder, not as a threat, but as acknowledgement. A message without words. You saved me. You are trusted. Evan's mouth went dry. He wanted to speak, to ask 1,000 questions, but words failed him. He simply nodded. She reached into a small satchel attached to her armor and pulled out a glowing case. The light from the case reflected on Evan's face, bright and beautiful. He had no idea what it was, but the energy it radiated was unlike anything he had ever seen. The guards at the outpost didn't move. Even though they could have opened fire, they seemed unsure. This was a situation beyond their training. The alien woman knelt slightly in front of Evan. She held out the glowing case. Slowly, she activated a small hologram. A voice, translated into the local human language, echoed in the hangar. Human, you spared one life. Now my people offer yours protection. Evan stared at the hologram, unable to blink. The words sank into his mind. He could hardly comprehend what he was seeing. Protection. From her people. A civilization far more advanced than humans. And all of it. Because he had shown mercy. He looked at her. You're saying, because I helped you. My people were safe? She nodded, her expression serious but calm. Around her, the others remained in respectful silence. Evan's mind raced. This was beyond anything he had imagined. Aristri was supposed to be a quiet, unimportant planet. Yet here he was, standing beside someone who could protect humanity, all because he had made a simple choice to save a life. The alien woman handed him the case fully. Inside, there was a crystalline core. It shimmered in soft blue and purple lights. Evan knew immediately that it was not ordinary technology. His training as a mechanic gave him a small understanding of energy sources, but this was something beyond comprehension. The power in that core could sustain the outpost for decades, maybe centuries. Why? Why are you giving this to us? Evan asked, voice shaking. The alien woman's violet eyes met his. Because one life saved must never be forgotten. Your courage does not go unnoticed. Evan realized then that this was not just a gift of energy. It was a gift of trust, a promise of alliance. Outpost 9's commander finally stepped forward, eyes wide with shock. Sir. Ma'am, what? What is happening? The alien woman activated another hologram, showing a map of the galaxy. This outpost will be under our protection. Trade will be offered. Assistance will be provided. No harm will come to those who are loyal. Those who attack will face consequences beyond your technology. The words were clear. Humans had just made contact with a powerful civilization, one that respected kindness and courage. Evan looked around the hangar. Soldiers, mechanics, and workers stared in awe. He could see hope flicker in their eyes, something they had never felt before. The outpost, once small and isolated, now had importance in the galaxy. The alien woman looked back at Evan. There was a smile in her violet eyes. Subtle, but genuine. She spoke softly. This time in words he could understand. You chose mercy. You chose life. That choice will not be forgotten. Evan felt a warmth in his chest. He had not expected recognition. He had simply done what he thought was right. And yet, everything had changed. He glanced at the glowing core, then at her. I don't know what to say. She shook her head. No words are needed. Only understanding. The outpost slowly realized that the world and the universe was much bigger than they had imagined. The humans who had worked here for years, dreaming of quiet lives, now looked up at the sky with awe. They had touched something far greater than themselves. Evan remained quiet. He felt small, yet proud. He had saved a life, and in return he had changed the fate of his people as the sun rose higher. Spilling light across the outpost, Evan realized something important. The galaxy was not just full of stars. It was full of choices, and every choice, no matter how small, could ripple across worlds. The alien woman looked at him once more before turning back to her people. Her mission continued, but she had not forgotten Evan. And for Evan, the quiet life he once cherished was gone. The galaxy had opened its doors to him, and there was no turning back. He smiled faintly. This was only the beginning. The hangar was quiet now. Outside, the winds of Aristri blew sand across the ridges, but inside, a new kind of energy hung in the air, a mixture of awe, anticipation, and disbelief. Evan Carter stood near the glowing crystalline core, his hands trembling slightly as he held the gift. It was heavier than it looked, not in weight, but in significance. He could feel its power even without fully understanding the technology behind it. The alien woman, whom Evan had first found wounded days ago, stood nearby. She was no longer the fragile figure he had rescued. She carried herself with dignity and authority, her ceremonial armor shimmering in the early morning light that filtered through the hangar. Her violet eyes were fixed on him, a silent question in their depths. Will you accept this responsibility? Evan took a deep breath. I don't know if I can, he admitted, his voice low. I'm just a mechanic. I fix machines. I'm not a leader. I don't even know if I deserve this. The alien woman stepped closer. Her presence was calming, commanding at the same time. She placed her hand gently on the glowing core, and it pulsed softly, as if acknowledging her touch. This gift is not for the strongest, nor the smartest, she said, her voice clear and calm. It is for the one who chose mercy when it was easiest to ignore. You saved me. You acted without expectation. That is worth more than any skill or rank. Evan blinked, absorbing her words. He had acted on instinct simply because it felt right. He had never imagined that choice would bring him here, standing at the threshold of an interstellar alliance. The outpost commander. A tall, stern man named Colonel Vance finally stepped forward. His expression was a mixture of skepticism and awe. Sir, he said, addressing Evan. What? What exactly is this? And why are we being offered it? Evan looked at the core again. I think it's a power source, he said cautiously. I don't know how it works, but it could keep the outpost running for decades. Maybe longer. The alien woman nodded. It contains energy beyond your understanding. It can sustain entire cities, fuel exploration, and provide protection. It is a symbol of trust and friendship. By accepting it, you accept our people's promise to protect yours. The room fell silent. Humans exchanged glances, some wide-eyed with excitement, others wary. The idea of being allied with an advanced civilization was almost beyond comprehension. Evan felt a strange weight on his shoulders. It was not the core itself. It was the responsibility. If he accepted it, he would forever be part of something much bigger than himself. A small human standing in a galaxy of powerful civilizations. He glanced at the alien woman. Are you? Sure, this is safe. For us. She smiled faintly. Nothing is ever without risk. But choosing kindness over fear? That is the path to safety. Evan nodded slowly. Then, we accept. At that moment, the core glowed brighter. Its light filled the hangar, bathing everyone in blue and purple hues. It was not just a gift of energy, it was a message, a promise. It's a bond between worlds. The alien woman activated a small hologram above the core. It displayed detailed schematics of the outpost, the surrounding desert, and the trade routes connecting Arest-3 to other planets. Lines of energy traced from her people's ships to the outpost. Indicating protection and support, Colonel Vance stepped closer, studying the hologram. This is incredible, he whispered. With this, we could expand, explore, and even defend ourselves against threats we never imagined. Evan smiled faintly. He still felt like a simple mechanic, yet he realized he had done something extraordinary. By showing mercy, he had changed the fate of everyone at Outpost 9. The alien woman stepped toward him again. You have proven that one life saved can change countless others. Today you have not just helped me, you have helped your people. Evan's eyes met hers. I didn't think about that. I didn't want you to be hurt. She nodded, understanding. Sometimes the simplest acts have the greatest consequences. You showed courage, compassion, and wisdom. That is why you are worthy. A quiet hum filled the hangar. The other aliens, who had accompanied her, began distributing small devices to the human stools and instruments that could enhance communication, navigation, and understanding of the core's energy. It was a gift of knowledge as well as power. Evan watched as his fellow humans explored the devices with curiosity and wonder. Children of workers, engineers, and even guards leaned over the technology, asking questions, learning. It was as if a door had opened, revealing possibilities they had never dreamed of. He turned back to the alien woman. Why? Why return to me with all this? He asked softly. She placed her hand over his heart once more, just as she had the first time he helped her. Because one who shows mercy deserves recognition. Because one who chooses kindness shapes the future. And because a bond formed in trust should never be broken. Evan's chest tightened. He realized the bond between them was not just about gratitude. It was about respect, understanding, and a connection that transcended worlds. The alien woman straightened and addressed the entire outpost. Her voice carried through the hangar, calm but powerful. People of Eris 3, today marks a new beginning. You are no longer alone. You have allies beyond your stars. You have friends who will stand with you. And above all, remember this: courage and compassion are the true measures of strength. The humans listened in silence, some mouths agape, some eyes glistening with hope. For the first time in many years, the outpost felt alive with possibility. Evan stepped back, letting the alien woman speak. Yet, even as he did, he felt a deep sense of pride. Not because of the power she brought, or the alliance she offered, but because he had acted on what he believed was right. That simple choice had rippled across worlds. The alien woman then activated a small hologram, showing her own people's fleet, scattered across distant stars. These ships will monitor, protect, and assist, she said. Your people are now part of a wider network of friendship and safety, and your courage has earned this. Evan's mind raced. He had never imagined being part of something so vast. He had never thought that helping one person could touch so many lives. Yet here he was, a quiet mechanic, standing at the center of a cosmic alliance. The alien woman turned to him one final time. Remember this moment, she said softly, almost like a whisper meant only for him. Remember that one life saved can change the course of many. And remember that courage comes in many forms, even in the choice to help a stranger. Evan nodded. Words failed him. He simply felt the warmth of understanding and gratitude. For once, he realized that life was bigger than routine, bigger than isolation. Life was about choices, and sometimes one small choice could echo across galaxies. The hangar doors opened, letting in the morning light. Evan could see the desert outside, the twin moons fading in the sky. And beyond them, he imagined the stars stretching infinitely, filled with possibilities and worlds he had never dreamed of. The alien woman handed him one last device, small and glowing. Keep this, she said. It is a key to communication. If ever you or your people need guidance, you may call upon us. But remember, true strength comes from within. Use this wisely. Evan took it carefully, feeling its warmth. He could feel the responsibility, the potential, but also the trust she had placed in him. It was humbling, inspiring, and overwhelming all at once. The rest of her entourage stepped back, giving the humans space. There was a quiet dignity in the way they moved, every motion purposeful, every glance respectful. Evan realized that these were not just allies. They were teachers, guardians, and friends. He looked at the glowing core once more. It hummed softly, as if alive. He could feel the energy flowing not just through machines, but through people. Through hope, through possibility. Colonel Vance approached him. Evan, I don't know how you did this, but I think you just saved all of us. Evan shook his head. I didn't save all of you, he said quietly. I just helped her. That's all. The rest she made possible. The alien woman watched silently, her expression unreadable yet warm. Evan realized she was right. His actions had sparked a chain of events, but she and her people had ensured that the consequences were far-reaching and positive. For the first time, Evan felt truly connected to something larger than himself. He understood that the galaxy was vast, full of dangers, wonders, and opportunities. And in that vastness, one simple act of kindness had built a bridge between two very different worlds. The hangar slowly emptied, but Evan stayed behind for a moment. Looking at the core, at the alien woman, at the sky beyond the open doors, he felt a quiet sense of purpose settling within him. Life on Re-3 would never be the same, and neither would he. The alien woman approached once more. She placed her hand on his shoulder gently. "Farewell. For now," she said, "the future is bright, and it begins with courage, trust, and mercy." Evan nodded, understanding. She turned, walking back to her ship. Her entourage followed, and the massive craft lifted slowly into the sky, leaving trails of blue light behind it, as it disappeared into the stars. Evan felt a strange mixture of awe and gratitude. He turned to the outpost, looking at the people he had worked alongside for years. Their faces were filled with hope, wonder, and excitement. The galaxy had opened itself to them, and he had been the first human to touch that door. Evan smiled faintly. He would never forget this day. He would never forget the alien woman who had returned with a gift not just of power,